Who could have seen that coming? I had a look back at the video we produced at this time last year, and I suggested that having a look in a crystal ball wasn't actually going to give us any idea of what was going to happen in the future. But certainly I don't think there were too many people who thought that the succeeding 12 months were going to turn out the way that they have. It's been a very, very difficult year. But it didn't start out that way. If we think about investment markets through the first half of the financial year going up to Christmas, that was very, very, very strong performance. And this was despite what was going on in the UK with the impending exit from the EU, and also the continued rumblings between the United States and China over a trade war. Markets didn't seem to be having any problem with any of those things. Towards the end of the year, though, we started to hear some noise about a nasty new virus. And markets largely ignored those noises, and we got into the early part of 2020 through January and the early part of February, and nothing was really seemed to be affecting the onward march upwards and onwards of investment markets both here and overseas. It's quite surprising, really. Things started to look pretty grim, particularly in China, and then as we saw, we had some pretty severe outbreaks happening in Italy and also in Spain, and by and large markets were just ignoring all of that for a while until around about the 18th of February. Then things started to wobble just somewhat. Into the early part of March, we saw the fastest fall in investment markets that's ever occurred. The market fell about 35% in the matter of a week, and that's something that's not ever been seen before. In fact, even going back to the Great Depression, the stock market crash which occurred then in October of 1929 was not as severe and not as quick as the one that we experienced in March. This was something that we'd really never seen before. If you think back to the time during the GFC, we had a situation there where Australian and international share markets fell by around about 50%, but that occurred over a period of nearly 2 years. It was like a slow and creeping death. I will remember those times, and I'm sure some of you do as well. So the market bottoms out on the 26th of March in 2020, and the Australian market has fallen to about 4,600. The US market has fallen from about 30,000 at the high to about 20,000 on the 26th of March. Pretty serious fall. Things were looking fairly grim. Thankfully, we've had just as quick a rebound in markets. So as I'm recording this on the 3rd of July in 2020, the Australian market is at around about 6,200 or so, and the US market's up around 26 or 27,000. So we've had a pretty significant recovery, and it's happened very, very quickly. If you take the Australian market at 4,600 and now at 6,200, we've had about a 25% recovery over the period of about 6 weeks. And it just doesn't usually work like that. In fact, if we think about it and go back to this time last year, the Australian and international markets are around about the same place that they were at this time last year. So essentially what's happened during this period is that we've burned off a lot of that increase which we experienced in the first half of this financial year. But what's going to happen from here, I hear you ask. Well, I don't really know, and my crystal ball still doesn't work. I do know that there's going to be continued volatility, and there's no suggestions that we're really going to have any return to normal until we've dealt with properly this virus situation. And that won't occur, in my belief, until we actually get a vaccine. That could be some years in the development, and so we don't really know how long it's going to take us to get back to normal, if we ever do. There have been a lot of structural changes which have occurred in economies and the ways that we go about work and the ways that we interact with our friends and our colleagues over this period of time, and I would suggest to you that a number of those things are not actually going to revert to the way that they were before. In our own office, we had an experience of dealing with the COVID-19 outbreak by working from home for around about 8 weeks. That's something that we've never done before. But we found it to be quite a useful way to continue to operate. a way to continue to serve our clients. We conducted lots of meetings with clients during this period via Zoom and other technological things that we can use to deal with not having to talk to our clients on a face-to-face basis. It was actually quite successful. As a team, we were meeting on a daily basis around about 10 o'clock every day on a video link between all of the members of the team at their various homes, and whilst we were not all together in one location, it was a good way for us all to check in and make sure that everyone was okay. So there it is, a wrap of things that have occurred over the last 12 months. It's been an interesting time. In fact, now is exactly 1 year since we moved into our new premises in Fairy Meadow, and we thought that was going to be the biggest disruption of the last 12 months, but that certainly hasn't turned out to be the case. Look forward to continuing to support you during this difficult time. I do expect some turbulence ahead. If you have any questions in relation to what's going on in the world, of course, get in touch with us. We can always give you our opinion, but we certainly can't predict the future. Stay safe, everyone. Look forward to talking to you again soon.